Hello and welcome to How to Invest. In today's video, we're going to be talking about Lemonade's Q4 full year 2025 shareholder letter. There's not that much different than the last letters. Continued acceleration in IFP growth, incredible just performance across all key performance indicators for Lemonade. Well, I'm going to be looking at a couple of things in the shareholder letter, but mostly I really want to focus in on the kind of bull case. I want to explore kind of the best case scenario, more of the most optimistic future. We'll review the base case and bear case as well. We've updated the modeling a little bit on those. So we'll take a quick look, but I really want to talk about this concept of what it looks like for a company who is AI native to scale in this new age of AI, because this is a new paradigm shift for company scaling that we've never seen before. A little bit about me. I am a stock analyst for a holding company with over 10 million of assets under management, as well as my own personal $150,000 portfolio. Just so you guys know, we are not certified financial advisors. This video is not financial advice. All investments carry risk. You are solely responsible for your investments. We encourage everyone to do their own due diligence and research. We have a high risk tolerance and a long investment horizon. This video reflects our opinions only at the time of recording and are for educational and entertainment purposes only. We'll quickly go over the shareholder letter and then we'll get into the modeling. So again, in-force premium increased 31% year over year. And if we scroll down here, we can see the growth in the business. So this is the IFP growth rate year over year per quarter. And as you can see, it's continued to accelerate since Q3 2023. And they have this little thing here, which is absolutely insane. They have had 9 quarters of IFP growth acceleration alongside sustained gross loss ratio, of course. So the gross loss ratio continues to improve. So this is just insane to see. I was calculating it out. And this represents about a 4% year-over-year growth rate acceleration each year. So each year, the growth rate, IFP growth rate, accelerates by about 4%. And so I'm going to use that kind of acceleration rate forward in our bull case to kind of see maybe if they continue this, what would that look like? Now, it's really important to note that this is going to be for the bull case, right? So we need to keep in mind what management has actually guided themselves. Management has guided about 30% IFP growth through 2030. So that's really what the base case is built around. And we're going to look at what those kind of results in terms of an ROI look like. But I'm going to use this kind of acceleration rate in the bull case to kind of see, we've seen this in other companies. We're going to compare this to Palantir. What would it actually look like if this IFP kind of acceleration continued to go? Because we'll take a look real quick here, right? So this is IFP growth versus OPEX, so operating expenses accelerating growth spend. And you can see OPEX excluding growth spend is almost completely flat. That's just a small marginal increase, while IFP has increased dramatically, which means they have insane operating leverage, which means almost every single incremental dollar of gross profit can be turned around and spent on advertising, not on additional headcount. And in fact, they have another blurb here basically saying that headcount has decreased 6% since Q3 2022. So over the last 3 years or so, headcount has been declining. Now, OPEX is still increasing, right? Because people are getting raises, probably you have some comp expense, stock-based compensation in there, right? Which we love because we love to see everyone inside the organization aligned with the, kind of incentives or the, aligned with shareholders, right? We want everyone to be working towards the same goal and have the same incentive structure that when the company does well, everyone else does well, everyone together does well. But yeah, so they are getting incredible operating leverage as shown here. And we see this in other companies like Palantir. So I want to actually really quickly move over to Palantir. This is from Macro Trends. I have it from the trough. So before this, they were declining their year-over-year revenue growth rate. And this is the turnaround quarter, the bottom here, the June 30th, 2023. And since then, it has been accelerating every single quarter, and now this latest quarter, they put up a 70, it's not here yet in this chart, or no, this is it. I think this is from the shareholder letter I was just looking at. It was saying that it was 75%. But whether it's 70% or 75% year-over-year revenue growth rate, you can see that these companies that are AI native are scaling incredibly well and incredibly fast. So I wanted to kind of put a Palantir scenario onto Lemonade. So let's go over to the modeling. We'll look at the base case really quick. So again, this base case is based on management's guidance of 30% IFP growth through 2030. Now, I am giving a little bit of credence to the fact that they have already accelerated IFP growth past 30%, right? They're at 31%. So for the next 2 years, we're kind of modeling them growing at 32% IFP growth on average, and then deaccelerating to that 30% through 2030 IFP growth on average. So you can see it here, the assumptions in the base case. But let's go over to the bull case really quickly. And this is the Palantir scenario. So this is like what maybe this new age of enterprise scaling looks like when you have an AI, native company selling basically an AI product. So they've been, like I said, accelerating IFP growth around 4% per year. So they're currently at 31%. So a 4% increase would be 35%, 39%, 43%, 47%, and then 51%. So, this is crazy to think about with legacy companies. Like absolutely, you cannot possibly think of this as being a realistic scenario. And even if you could think of this as being a realistic scenario, there would be massive headcount growth, massive OpEx growth. I definitely do think that in order for this scenario to happen, there'll be massive advertising and marketing expense growth. But OpEx will continue to stay relatively flat as we've seen through the past growth. So a lot of these incremental dollars will be able to go 100% to marketing, which makes these kind of scenarios so much more realistic. Plus, basically, insurance is a promise, and the biggest expense of selling that promise is selling the policy, doing customer service, and doing claims handling, which is highly, highly automated for Lemonade in a way that customers really enjoy, actually. And another thing that could also, really accelerate this kind of IFP growth all the way to that 51% scenario is that the trailing 12-month gross loss ratio has been declining, but they do have a target range, and I believe we're basically in that target range, even maybe below that target range. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head if it's 60 to 65% or 70 to 75%. I'm pretty sure it's closer to the 70 to 75% gross loss ratio is their target range, and they're already below that. So whether it's 60 or 65 or 70 to 75%, they're going to hit that target. And once they hit that target, what they can do as a leverage to continue to accelerate growth is drop the prices of the insurance, which, when that is a massive, massive deal for consumers. So if you can offer the best product, right, the fastest claims handling, the AI is going to be able to can emulate human emotion, that humans don't get annoyed. So these customer experiences are going to be far, far better. So they offer a far better product, much quicker, and at a lower price because they're better at pricing the risk. And then they stop lowering the gross loss ratio and allow those kind of savings as they continue to get better at pricing risk to be reflected more into the price they're offering. You can just see a continuation in the acceleration of IFP growth. So these are some of the levers that these AI native companies have that can just make this crazy, crazy kind of growth scenario. I do have it stopping in 2030 and then starting to decelerate from there. Down to 35% again. But still, if this scenario happened, which I don't think is the most likely, right? Because this is the bull case, not the base case. Lemonade is going to be one of the best performing stocks in the stock market. I just quickly want to go over the bear case as well, right? So this is the worst case scenario. This management team, Daniel Schreiber and Shai Wininger, have an incredible track record of execution. They're both previous successful entrepreneurs, all of that kind of stuff. So, and they've been very, very good at actually executing what they say they're going to do. So in our bear case, we actually having them failing their 2030 guidance, right? So they do 30% for the next 3 years through 2028, but for 29 and 2030, they actually failed to achieve their 30% IFP growth. So we'll look at what that actually looks like in terms of the returns, and how even in this like disaster scenario, what an incredible kind of opportunity Lemonade is. And lastly, I want to talk about why it's still in my portfolio, even though it's not actually one of the top returners in our spreadsheet. So let's go over to the charts. We'll start in the 5-year with the base case, right? So that base case is they slightly outperform their 2030 guidance. In that scenario, it's something like a 7. Remember, this is directionally we're trying to directionally model the returns. This is what the intrinsic value will be, in the short term, we're maybe in 2030, and in the short term, the voting machine, that is the stock market in the short term, is saying that it's worth less or more than this. So again, this is modeling intrinsic value directionally. So even in our base case scenario where they just slightly outperform kind of their guidance, it's still a 7x, which isn't even in the top 5 returners, excluding Biostim, Fiverr, and Space, as those are a bit more, at least Biostim and Space are much more speculative. Space has a decent chance of going bankrupt. Biostim has a somewhat decent chance of going bankrupt, and it's a much harder business to understand. And then Fiverr could be a shrinking business. So excluding those ones, right? So you have Root, which is another kind of AI native insurance company, but really only applies AI to their pricing, not to their claims handling and all that kind of other stuff. There's Path, which is an agentic automation company. Oddity, which uses AI to sell makeup and launch additional brands for skincare, that kind of stuff. Hims and Hers Health, which is creating a non-insurance based pharmacy and kind of a AI doctor platform. And Duolingo, which is going to be kind of, in our opinion, the best company to take AI into education. So you have all these really, really great companies that are, better returners than Lemonade in our 5-year. But I think that Lemonade is just so solid of a company. I still have it as actually my largest position in my portfolio personally, because I just view it as such a sure thing. Whereas my confidence in these scenarios happening are slightly less. Part of that is just the amount of time I've spent researching. I know we were supposed to be talking about the bull case. I kind of got on a side tangent here. But I do want to talk about portfolio allocation a little bit, right? So, you could do the modeling, but there's personal confidence intervals that you might have inside your mind of how confident you are in that scenario happening. Like, I am incredibly confident that Lemonade is going to do something similar to this base case scenario or better, whereas I'm slightly less confident in these other ones, and they're within a kind of close enough return profile, right? Only, in the worst case scenario, right, that's a 5x difference, which would, suck, right, to not get that extra 5x. But these are directionally, we're trying to model future revenue growth. We really don't know exactly what the future holds. So you have to hold a lot of these kind of assumptions with the understanding that they could be vastly wrong. Whereas with Lemonade, I feel very, very confident in their ability to execute somewhat similar to what management is saying. And that's why I'm so comfortable holding it, whereas I allocate quite a bit less of my portfolio to these other companies. Path is my second largest position. Hims is my third largest position. And a lot of that kind of position sizing reflects my personal confidence in those companies and their ability to execute kind of our base case scenario. So just remember, when you're looking at these charts or someone else's prediction, there's so much information packed that's not explicitly said, that's held in their head when they're talking about these kind of different modeling or return or stock prices and stuff. That's why it's so deeply important for you to do your own modeling, to do your own due diligence, your own research, and to build your own convictions in these companies, right? Because you can take a spreadsheet like ours, which is free in the description if you want to get it. But there's so much additional information that's across our spreadsheet, and it still isn't in our spreadsheet, and it's in our mind, through conversations me and Jake have that aren't put into the spreadsheet, through interviews that I've watched with the founders and management. But yeah, I'm going on a big tangent here just about portfolio allocation and personal conviction. Let's get back to what that bull case AI scaling kind of scenario looks like. In that scenario, you could see Lemonade do something like intrinsically 15x from this current stock price. And then in the 10-year, something like a 70x in the bull case scenario, which would just be absolutely insane from here, right? Because a lot of its trailing evaluation metrics are already kind of stretched for an insurance company. But if they are actually able to scale like other kind of AI native companies have scaled, like Palantir, for example, this could break all known understandings of how companies can scale. So, but lastly, I want to look at the bear case, which is really the worst case scenario. In the 5-year, it's still a 3.1x, which is somewhere between a 20 and 30% CAGR. And this is why it's just like so comfortable holding this company, where it's like, even if they fail to reach their guidance, which I find incredibly unlikely, I still get an incredible return on this company. And I really do think that they are the absolute, best of the best. They have, AI as a massive tailwind. They kind of tick all of Peter Lynch's boxes for like the perfect company, a company that is getting the tailwind of a new technology, not the one building that new technology. They're disrupting a really old, slow-growing industry with a lot of, really old incumbents. Like a lot of these companies, legacy insurance companies, are over 100 years old. So Peter Lynch would absolutely love this. It ticks all of like the best boxes for companies you want to be invested in. There's not a bunch of new, startups from MIT graduates, Harvard graduates competing with Lemonade. They're really just competing with these legacy incumbents in a really slow growing industry. And they have just the tailwinds of everything behind them. So, yeah, this is like the perfect company, and this is again why I have it still as my number one. In the worst case scenario, I still get an incredible return. There's a possibility that this company just breaks all scaling laws because of AI, and just goes absolutely crazy. And in my base case, it's still a far better than a 30% compounder for the next 5 years. I just have to have it. And I trust management so much more than the management of any other company. And it just happens every single quarter. They have the next best quarter. They have the next best quarter. They literally say it here, by any measure, fourth quarter 25 was our strongest ever. And I expect them to say that again next quarter, just because I'm so confident in their ability to execute. So I highly encourage you, if you don't know about Lemonade, to go do your own research, deep dive them. This is one of the most solid bets in our spreadsheet currently in terms of our confidence. But yeah, I highly encourage you to go look at the shareholder letter yourself. Go listen to the last couple of earnings calls. Do some research. Listen to interviews with Daniel Schreiber and with Shai Wininger. They're both incredible founders. But yeah, this is still my number one position, my number one conviction in my portfolio, and yet we see another quarter that just confirms it all over again. Every quarter is a thesis confirming quarter. It's incredible to see this company execute, and I am very happy to be a shareholder of this company. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you learned a lot about investing, not just about Lemonade, and I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to subscribe so you see videos like this in the future, we're going to continue updating all of the companies that we follow quarter to quarter, so you'll get more updates like this in the future. And have a wonderful day.